Good evening. I am here tonight to redress a great wrong, to sing the praises of a man who has been ignored by contemporary audiences, and a man who will probably be ignored by history as well, and yet he is a man who has given us all so much. I am speaking of the man, that great man, who has given us that literary masterpiece, that poetry which continues to shape and influence our lives, that modern and yet timeless classic, the libretto of the Phantom of the Opera. Now, just who did write Phantom? Well, we all know about Mr. Andrew Lloyd Webber. How could we possibly not? A man wise enough to have a couple of distinctive and memorable last names, lending themselves easily to phrases such as the new Lloyd Webber. Unlike the man under discussion here tonight, Mr. Charles Hart, who should have thought more seriously about his name before deciding to take up a job in theatre. But Mr. Charles Hart, he is, and famous he is not. And tonight I would like to point out to you what a grave injustice this is. On this basis I present my thesis. Order your fine horses. Or what else would you say when someone says, I love you? Now, as we have already established, Mr. Hart is not too cluey about names. Unfortunately, this is one of the great flaws of Phantom. Who, Mr. Hart, who would call their romantic heroine Christine? Nobody has before, and with very good reason. Heathcliff. Christine. Heathcliff. Christine just doesn't have the right sort of ring to it. And I'm sure that Rhett Butler would not have given a damn about any old Christine O'Hara. And Diane? This is nothing. He then goes on to call his male romantic lead Raoul. Yes, well, very foreign, alluring, I'm sure, but completely unpronounceable. And the rest of his name is Vicomte de Chagny? Well, I ask you. At least Mr. Hart does wisely neglect to tell us that the real name of that terrifying and yet incredibly sexy masked man is actually Eric. Now, I doubt that Eric of the opera would have got even the famous Lloyd Webber very far. Just imagine Lloyd Webber's greatest creations being Joseph, Jesus, and Eric. However, these are minor quibbles. Let us look now at the strengths inherent in the text. Mr. Hart, for example, shows great control over rhyme and metre. Now, perhaps the pinnacle of the rhyme mastery can be seen in the masked ball scene at the top of Act 2. Now, I'm not content with calling this a fancy dress ball or masked ball or something else boringly easy to rhyme with. Mr. Hart goes straight for the word masquerade. Well, the rhyme scheme in this song is brilliant. It goes something like masquerade, 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 parade, masquerade, masquerade, parade, masquerade, masquerade, parade, and so on. Mr. Hart has, however, learnt a lot since he wrote Act 1, where in a desperate attempt to find a rhyme for the line, "Isn't this the letter you wrote?" the best that he can come up with is, "And what is it that we're meant to have wrote?" which is not actually a great solution. Luckily, we have in our midst Mr. John Ewing, a pedant after my own heart, who each night insists on correcting this appalling grammatical error. Rhythmically, there is much to admire, from the deft handling of the Phantom of the Opera to the audacious quatrains of the Don Juan opera. Hide your swords now, wounded knight, your vainglorious Gasconade brought you to your final fight. For your pride high price you've paid. Silken couch and hayfield barn both have been his. Does anybody actually understand what this is about? Well, I don't, and I've seen the show about 500 times, so if anybody does and they'd like to stay behind afterwards and tell me, I'd be very grateful. Mr. Hart's greatest strength, however, lies in his narrative. You may not realise it, and it's taken me about 500 shows to realise it as well, but Phantom of the Opera is, above all else, a detective story. It begins with the meeting up again of Christine and Raoul. Those fabulous names. Just how well did they know each other before? Well, the dressing room scene here is pivotal. We learn of the red scarf. An item which Raoul has already risked his life for once, and he's obviously prepared to do so again. We learn also of the picnics in the attic. Information which will be crucial later on in the show. The clues are all there. It's just a matter of piecing them all together. And what of Eric, Phantom? Locked away in his watery home. What does he eat down there, and who makes and maintains his fabulous clothes? And if no one can bear to look at him, how does he manage to do all that study and become a scholar, an architect, and a musician? And how does he afford the postage for all those letters if he doesn't seem to have a real job? And come to think of it, why don't all those candles go out in all that water? Well, there is another piece of vital information as well. That advice, put your hand at the level of your eyes. Well, now this is completely obscure and largely unintelligible. And even if Raoul does understand it, it doesn't seem to save him from the Phantom's noose at all. I mean, why didn't they say something sensible like, careful, he might hang you? But don't worry, if you can't sort out all the information and find out the answers to all the questions, it doesn't matter. You can at least rest assured that what you're watching is ideologically sound. It goes something like this. Young girl with dead father fixation is forced to sing against her will by a bunch of overbearing males. As a direct result of this, she is abducted against her will by a tall, dark and ugly stranger and imprisoned. She naturally falls in love with him because he's tall, dark and has a fast boat. The tall, fair and so-so young man, who's also after her and who has nothing to offer but an unpronounceable name, forces the girl to kiss the ugly man so that he can watch. Ugly man realizes that he's being used and goes off in a huff, leaving her stuck with the unpronounceable one. At least he's got the sense to nick the fast boat on the way home. One does wonder, however, what would have happened if that size 10 Elle Macpherson of the Paris Opera, Christine Daae, didn't actually look quite so fabulous. I wonder what would have happened if she'd looked as ugly as old Eric himself. Now there, Mr. Hart, there would have been a real story. Thank you.